Hello, welcome. Access Sportsnet Lakers. I'm Chris McGee alongside Mike Trudell here in studio. What a treat this is.
What's up, Gator?
And sitting atop the hill, Mike, there he is from Lakers.com. So far away in Palos Verdes. Senior editor, Lakers.com.
Yeah.
Kevin Ding, the Dinger. There's the bell. Thank you, Manny, our director, right on cue. By the way, the preseason, one more game. Let's just start the regular thing, Dinger. I know you're ready.
You're eager. It's been what, 71 days? That 71-day layoff isn't enough for.
Well, eager, yes, but I will say this.
So much energy.
I will say this, Mike Trudell. I've never enjoyed a preseason this much. It's short and it's been fun.
It's been so much fun.
I admit it.
I mean, THT, preseason MVP. I said before
Lock
Game 3 that was already locked, and then he went and put up 18. You know, a couple more threes, just do whatever he wants out there.
Another 18.
And ones over DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, pick and roll at the end of the game to K-Cock. Unbelievable. All right. Last night, the third of the 4 preseason games played. LeBron and AD both played for the first time in the preseason. They played just limited minutes. LeBron 11 points in 15 minutes. AD 3 for 3 from the floor, 10 points in 18 minutes. The Lakers won by 5. They're now 3-0 in the preseason. After the game, Frank Vogel on if he's decided on his starting 5 yet.
Not really. I mean, we got to watch the tape and, just continue to study it. I like a lot of different ways we can go. I'm going to feel good about. But certainly, the lineup with Mark out there gives a lot of space for guys to attack the basket. Whether it's Bron or whether it's AD or our small cutters, KCP, Kuz, Alex, Dennis, guys like that. There's a lot of different ways we can go, but nothing that really solidified for me tonight. I mean, it's just going to take time.
You've only had so few minutes to evaluate it, but what does Mark bring to that group with the talking and sort of he and LeBron able to converse on that high level, and AD as well intellectually?
It's just like you said. I mean, there's a high IQ with that group. We have a similar scheme to what we did last year. We just got to tighten some of the habits up and, teach the new guys kind of the way we do things. Obviously, there's a high pedigree on the defensive end with all the new guys we brought in. And, but it's every team's different. Every scheme is slightly different. They're learning those nuances. And, it's looked good. Looked really good in stretches.
So with LeBron and AD getting their first action of the preseason schedules, perhaps a good indication of what we may be seeing in the regular season. Last night, starters in Phoenix, LeBron, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Kuzma, Marc Gasol, and Anthony Davis. So listen, the season's starting in 5 days, Dinger. Let's start with you. Who's your expected starting lineup?
Well, Gator, I definitely expect those guys that you just mentioned, and then KCP slipping in there. Where he would be fully expected to go, and then Kuz gets bumped to the bench. I think Marc Gasol definitely is that veteran presence, that anchor, will give them a different start. Last year you had Trudell who would roll out there, and sometimes he'd be hot, and they just let him go for a while. There'd be some real stability with Gasol on defense and offense, I feel like, knowing what to do. And then I have no doubt that Dennis Schroeder's going to be in the starting lineup. I think he kind of gave it away in his interviews after he signed, where, he got the inkling from the team that, they had this spot lined up for him, and that's what he wanted. And that's what you want from a guy who's relatively young, coming to a championship team, a guy who can carry a load. And, Frank's mentioned it, taking some pressure off LeBron. I think that's the 5 that I fully expect to roll out there.
A lot like the Dinger's contract here. Mike, he always said first question of each show when he's working with you has to go to him.
I just like being able to look at Ding in the wall.
I know, it's pretty nice over there, isn't it?
Makes me happy.
He likes to mix up rooms, too, every time he comes on. So what's your starting 5, Mike? Is it any different or is it the same?
A lot of times Brez is here, but now I'm here and Ding's in the wall. It's all good. So it's the same as Ding's, but here's the key point.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the starting. The Lakers have 11 players who can make a really good argument for starting, and that includes Markieff Morris, who started in the postseason and played well and wasn't even in Ding's rotation. He apparently was the 11th guy there, and that's fair. Part of the reason there is because Talen Horton-Tucker, the 20-year-old, was so good. Like, he's good enough. I think you could see him starting in an NBA game. Caruso started Game 6 of the Finals. I mean, Marc Gasol started his whole career, basically. Yep. Wesley Matthews started 77 games last year for the Milwaukee Bucks and was part of the best plus-minus rotation in the league for much of the year. So Frank Vogel, he didn't really seem to care too much who started and who finished last year. As long as you have LeBron and AD in there, so much room for error. that it doesn't matter too much what the lineup is.
All right. I think we all agree this team is absolutely deep, and I think you're right. That's going to be the starting lineup. All right, with LeBron and AD playing limited minutes, Kyle Kuzma was on the floor for a team-high 32 minutes. He was fantastic in the fourth quarter. He was 4 for 8 from beyond the arc for the game, and he finished with a game-high 23 points.
In my career, my role has changed like kind of every year. So for me, I've had to adapt my game and figure out ways to affect the game in different ways, much more than other guys on that trajectory. So for me, just watching film and realizing what added parts we have and trying to just shape myself into it to become a winner. And that's how I really approach off seasons every season.
He's figuring it out. I mean, when Bron came 2 years ago, obviously Bron get all the attention, and Kuz tried to figure out how to work with that, and then me coming last year, he tried to figure that out, and I think he's doing a great job of finding his role on this team. We want him to come in and be aggressive. He's making the right plays. He's reading the defenses a lot better, even from last year. There's some plays in this game where he made a great pass. So he's continued to learn the game, continue to figure out his role with our team, and he developed his shot tremendously from last year to this year, just in that summertime grinding. So he's been playing well this preseason, and he's only going to continue to get better. So it's going to be a big year for him. He's going to play a bigger role for us this year, and we need to continue to do what Kuz do.
The thing that sticks out is how hard he works, and when you see a guy work that hard, you're not surprised when they have success on the court. And he's playing at a high level. He's playing with confidence. He's really not forcing any action. He's getting his shots within the rhythm of the offense, and you have to honor him. You got to know where he's at, and you got to close out hard to him. And he's got the ability to make plays with the passing off the bounce when you push up too much. So I'm happy to see him continuing to grow, and he's a big part of what we're going to do this year.
I think people in social media forget that Kuz was the third leading scorer on a championship team. And yes, he only started 9 games, but when he did, the volume went up, the points went up. He always has high expectations on him. Mike, he's looked real good these first 3 games. What do you expect his role to be on this team?
Yeah, the narrative was just unfair, I thought, last year. When you're playing behind 2 of the 5 best players in the league and they happen to be at your position defensively, you're not going to get many shots on the other end. You're not going to get that many minutes, and I thought that was the biggest difference. But he did improve vastly on his defense. And so that's the thing that Frank Vogel mentioned and Kuz mentioned heading into this season that was going to be a focus. But I think the thing that some forget, so Danny Green is no longer here, and they're going to need somebody else who can defend bigger wings. That might open an opportunity for Kuz, and if he can do that, which, by the way, he's done really well so far in the preseason, he's going to be on the floor more. That's going to help him potentially get into a better rhythm on the offensive side of the court, which we've seen so far as well. 4 threes in each of the last 2 games. So I kind of agree with AD here. I think that Kuz could have a really nice year.
Yeah, I'm with AD, and Mike, you bring up some great points. Dinger, one thing I've noticed through these 3 games, and I've hammered it home during the post-game shows, he looks real comfortable. He looks confident. And yeah, the shooting's great, and he's scoring points. But for me, it's the decision-making. I really like what I see from Kuz.
I agree, Gate, and I think that's one thing that the fans probably didn't satisfy them, right? That's not enough to satisfy them, is that he made a lot of subtle improvements. His team defensive play isn't going to light up anybody's computer screen, but that has improved. Individual defense, passing, all these little things have improved a lot and made him more comfortable as a player, like you're talking about. And I am a huge believer in Kyle Kuzma. I think this is a classic case of a post-hype sleeper type of situation where people are sort of forgetting about the expectations that were on him a year ago. Just going into the playoffs last year, that's when LeBron was saying we need him to be our 3rd star. That's how much those guys believed in him. And you heard what AD just said. So those guys have every confidence that he can step forward this year. And when you are defending a championship, that's a lot of times what happens is that the guys who won it get an opportunity to step up and take it. And I fully expect Kuz to do that this season.
Ding, that's a good point. So one thing I was talking about today on the Laker Film Room podcast, so with Kuz, a couple things that he learned last year, how to play better off the basketball, which he never had to do much in his career because he was typically the best player. And that even went into his rookie season with the Lakers, where he really did have the basketball a lot. But, Chris, he's cutting to the rim at the right time, and now he's playing with Marc Gasol, with LeBron James, right, with Schroeder when he comes in.
Guys that can get you the ball at the right time.
Yeah, and especially Mark. Mark is always going to reward that kind of a cut. And so that's something I think that Kuz has figured out, whether it's spot-up shooting, whether it's cutting to the hoop. He can get buckets that way, and you can still run him off screens. You can give him the ball. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot to see for Kuz.
And remember, Laker fans, he's going into his 4th year. When you're going into your 4th year, most guys with that kind of talent take another big step. Now, the biggest news in Game 3, obviously, the debut in the preseason of the Lakers superstars, LeBron and Anthony Davis. Last time they took the court together, guys, we were hoisting up the LrBron trophy and having 4-hour post-game shows. They played a combined total of 33 minutes in the first half and scored 21 points after the game. Davis and Vogel spoke about being back out there.
I felt great, honestly. Coming in, I thought I was going to be a little winded. You can try to get in shape all you want, but it's nothing like basketball shape, in game shape. So, I was kind of hesitant about that, but I felt fine. I could have played more, probably going to play more Friday, but I felt, physically fine.
Did LeBron give you how he came out of that game and how those first minutes felt for him? And did you see what you wanted to see kind of on progression with ramping him back up to speed?
Yeah, he anticipated feeling a little bit rusty in the first stretch, and I thought that played out. And once he got his first wind beneath him, I think he settled in and looked great again. So I think it was as he anticipated, as I anticipated, and it's just gonna be a matter of getting his legs back under him again.
So they get their first minutes together last night in Phoenix, and there's a lot of factors that are in play this season, guys. A short off season, a non-traditional schedule. Is load management going to be a real thing for this Lakers team and their superstars? Should it be, Mike?
Don't like the term. Never been a fan, and I get that this is a unique year, but they did have about 4 months of rest between March and when the thing started up again in August. They had the couple months rest here, and I think kind of what AD said there in his answer, the question was, hey, how do you feel physically? He said, I feel pretty good. The Lakers are in a better rhythm physically than the rest of the league. The whole question is, how can they sustain that, given that the season is going to now go on longer, and it's a little bit more like a soccer season in Europe or something, where you're basically playing, 10, 11 months of the year. But I just don't see it being that big of a thing. So maybe here or there, LeBron last year had a sore groin, so that kept him out of a couple of games. AD had a sore ankle at a certain point. He had a sore shoulder, so he missed a couple of games. But I think it's going to be much of the same this year. I don't think you're just going to see them randomly taking off games just to rest. These guys know how to train their bodies. They've been doing it all season long. AD's been learning from LeBron. So I'm going to push back a little bit on that and think that it's going to be underplayed.
Dinger, I feel like I get asked all the time what I think about it if they're going to. I'm not in on those meetings. One thing I do know, and I have a lot of confidence in, is that Frank, Rob, that front office, LeBron, AD, Rich Paul, who's ever in those conversations, they're going to be smart and they're going to do the right thing.
I think what people don't fully realize is a lot of this is left up to the players in this day and age, especially LeBron. He gets to dictate to the team a lot of times what he feels, and they defer to that. So, like True said, I hate it when guys sit out when they can play. And I'm optimistic that the Lakers will be able to scale back the minutes for these guys organically when they get big first half leads and they play, 5 minutes in the third quarter and then they're done. Maybe the compressed schedule will cause them to sit out if they have some minor ailments from time to time. But I'm looking forward to some of those second halves where they have big leads and that the depth that we've talked about can carry them home. And some of the guys we're talking about, like THT, Kuz, Caruso, whoever, step forward and have their nights and the Lakers still win.
That's a good point to end on with that discussion, too, is that the Lakers do have such a deep roster where they can go 11 deep.
Exactly. Or
if you want to throw duds in, maybe get a 3, maybe get the celebration going next to the floor.
Quinn Cook.
If you want to throw Quinn Cook in. But, again, LeBron wants to play. AD wants to play. They showed that last year. And, sure, if something is sore, you don't want to push an injury. but for the most part, I do think that they're going to try to play basketball this season.
Woj with a couple of tweets. I know that always perks everyone interest. Mike, you were here when he tweeted that the season was going to be suspended. We were on the show together. There he is. NBA Board of Governors are approving a March 25th trade deadline, sources tell ESPN. Woj also tweeting, Board of Governors are also expected to approve expanding active rosters to 15 on game night, permanently adopting coaching challenge, and amending several trade rules. We can go quick through this. If the rosters do expand, do you think the Lakers take advantage of that?
Yeah, and I think the one spot where they could add a 15th guy might be a backup, like true rim protecting center. Really like a JaVale McGee type. That's the one thing I'm not sure that they have on the roster this season. So could they add that later in the season? Sure. If I were going to whine about one thing, not a big fan of replay or coaches' challenges or any replay in general. Just kind of drags out the game. But we can shelve that. I'd rather hear what Ding has to say.
All right, Dinger?
Yeah.
Quickly.
I want to see the young guys. I want to see the other Antetokounmpo. I want to see K-Cock. I think he can play. I'd like to see those guys get a chance from time to time. But Quinn Cook's on a non-guaranteed deal, so there is still some flexibility for the Lakers regardless as you move forward.
Dinger signs off on it. I like it.